So far this year, the Honda Pilot, Honda's 3-row SUV, outsold the Passport by over double, and that's probably why you don't recognize the Passport. They fully redesigned it for this model year, setting it apart from their best seller, of course, the compact CR-V, and then on the higher end, the Pilot. Let's go for a drive. It did, however, outsell the Ridgeline, which to me is not surprising. I don't know about you guys, I never see Ridgelines on the road. This uses the same underpinning as the Ridgeline, so that means it's a unibody construction. It's not a body-on-frame SUV. So in that sense, it should outcompete, at least on the street, vehicles like the 4Runner that are body on frame, or the Land Cruiser that are body on frame. Whereas this, even with the Trailsport package, in my eyes, should be a street SUV first and an off-road adventure vehicle second. But first things first, it's still got a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6. That's awesome. Let's try it out. We'll go into sport mode here, brake boost a little bit. All right, there we go. I'm pretty sure I make the same face every time I get into a vehicle. Accelerate, and it does decent, but it doesn't blow me away. This one has 285 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. That's an increase over the previous generation by 5 horsepower. This generation has an upgraded rear differential, which is great. It's a real torque vectoring differential. This all-wheel drive system will send up to 50% of the torque, that's wrong, up to 70% of the torque to the rear, which is very welcome. Same as Acura's SH all-wheel drive in the MDX. And then it can split that torque up to 100% of it, either to the left or right wheel. So it's a really clever differential. This does not have a locking differential, but it has that. Apparently it can handle something like an extra 40% additional torque. But this engine, let's start with that, okay? First off, it sounds great. Paired with a 10-speed auto, it's great. It's smooth. I was worried it would be hunting for gears constantly. It doesn't really do that in any of Honda's offerings, and I'm so glad, and this is what separates it from the CR-V especially, that it doesn't have a CVT. It actually has some driving character, not only because it has a very linear torque curve with the NA V6, but also just I have control over the gears with the paddle shifters. Give me a second, please. It'll kind of rev match. Sometimes it won't upshift as well either when I ask for it, which is slightly frustrating. But overall, it's great. Down here, if we go to Sport, this is separate from our drive modes. I can tell the transmission specifically to just hold higher RPMs, hold gears. I would use that on the trail, right? And then we do have our drive modes. So many: Sport, normal, econ, snow, trail, sand, and towing. The beautiful thing is, so beautiful, off-road, I would rather have a naturally aspirated engine than a turbocharged 4-cylinder. And I think a lot of people would agree with that, just because the torque is a lot more predictable and the feeling you get through the throttle, super consistent. It's typical Honda. All the driving dynamics, steering, brake feel, throttle feel, it's light. It feels like something you could commute in, and that's exactly what every Honda should be. So now, of course, you get the V6, you sacrifice fuel economy, but this still gets 20 miles per gallon overall. And the Trailsport does get off-road tuned suspension. The springs are different. It's got different spring rates. The dampers have been tuned for off-roading, and the sway bars have been tuned for more articulation as well, which hopefully we can test. I'm not doing any crazy off-roading today. I was expecting more road noise from these tires. Not only the tires, but just being a boxier design. I mean, road noise is great. It's, like I said, it's typical Honda. There is zero sacrifice in that sense. People just stopping in the middle of the road. job, guys. So the previous generation Passport looked a lot like the previous generation CR-V, which is funny because now the redesigned Pilot looks exactly the same as the current CR-V. I can't tell the two apart. So I think it was very smart for Honda to do this and redesign the Passport. It's wider, the overall track width is wider. It's got almost 3 inches longer of wheelbase, which improves both the approach angle and the departure angle for off-roading. However, if you compare this to the larger Pilot Trailsport package, that one comes with a 1-inch suspension lift, where here we don't get that. And that's a huge miss, especially this whole vehicle. Not only this Trailsport package, but the way it looks, the way it feels, the kind of branding behind it makes it feel like it's just purely for like the weekend off-roading crowd that happens to commute in it as well, versus the other way around, right? It's a lot bigger than the previous generation Passport, which makes sense to me, especially because the Pilot is a 3-row. It sells very well, so to kind of push this up closer to that. Meanwhile, the CR-V gets the 4-cylinder, the hybrid, all your fuel economy stuff is kind of packaged with the CR-V. So the Trailsport is the important bit here. Of course, you get the orange badge with the mountains. You'll see there's a bunch of hints to topography and mountains further in the cabin to remind you that you should be on a trail and not on your commute to work in traffic. This hood scoop, this vent in the hood scoop, whatever you want to call it, is not real. So Honda, at the very least, you could have maybe opened this up. I think it looks great. I think overall the Passport looks amazing, especially in this color. However, I would probably go with the bright orange. You do get these tow hooks here on both sides, trailer hitch in the rear, and then of course skid plates on the bottom. Now I've seen the underside of the previous Passport Trailsport's skid plates. This isn't, you know, it's not similar to what you would find on a GX550 or a Land Cruiser in top trim, but it's there. It's there to protect the oil pan and a few other components under there, which is good. It's worthwhile to have. Here we've got general grabber off-road tires on here, specific wheels to go with this package. Roof racks up here. With this generation, they've strengthened the roof racks. And then we come around to the back here is where we really get that boxy feel. Love these tail lights. And this back section here, if you notice, these are in black. So from a distance, it kind of gives the impression that it's a pickup truck. You see here, almost like a Subaru Baja look. And then we'll pop in the back here, open it up. So the whole vehicle's bigger. That means more cargo space, which is very welcome. A few really good storage solutions. You've got buckets of space over here. You've got another bucket over here. You've got your 110 volt, if I can open it, outlet right there. That comes with Trailsport. You also get one of those in the second row. And the second row gets an additional 1.3 inches of legroom. That's huge. And without a third row, it just enables you to have that spare tire and additional storage. On the right side, we've got a spare, and then on the left side here, we do have quite a bit of additional storage space there and there too. The only thing I wish this had was the ability to fold down the second row from here. There's no ability to do that, so I have to walk to the second row. But without the third row here, I mean, it could fit one, but without the third row, you do have a ton more storage. Second row's great. The materials here, the leather carries over all the colors, of course, you would expect, but like I said, you can't pop these down from the back, so you do just have to manually swing them down. Not a big deal. And then, of course, with the Touring Trailsport, you get the sunshades, you get the climate controls back here, you get heated rear seats, a little bit more luxury. And back here, actually, they've added a second pouch. Awesome. And then, of course, all Passports come standard with the moonroof. Yeah, so it's typical Honda. As with the driving dynamics, it's comfortable. Typical Honda means it's not crazy in any way. There's nothing that really pops out. Although with the Trailsport package, this is a great place to be. First things, when you open the door in the door cards, there are like 50 different pockets to put things. Little dividers, cup holders. Honda's very proud of the fact that this has a ton. I believe it's 8 massive cup holders that will fit a 1 liter water bottle, like a huge water bottle. And then there's some topography down here where the wireless charger is, a flat spot where you can put your phone, and then another little opening here. You can put your keys or coins or little gemstones you find when you're going off the beaten path, I guess. And then of course down here is our drive mode selector. All Passports come standard with hill descent control, which is great. The big thing is on the interior, they've updated it to align with a lot of the other Honda and Acura products. So the center screen here is what you would find in a new Accord, which the Pilot, as far as I know, has not been updated with this screen. So it's a lot better. All of the hard buttons are gone except for the volume knob, the all-important volume knob. But the screen itself is, I believe, 12.3 inches here. It's huge. It's got Google built in. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay is standard, like I mentioned. Google Maps built in, incredibly responsive. That can be put on the gauge cluster, which is a huge win. Vehicle settings here, it comes up with photo of the Passport and just kind of, you know, there's nothing exciting about it, like I said, but you can change the color of the Passport when you're changing the vehicle settings. That's a little Easter egg, nothing spectacular. The higher spec in Canada, it's called the Touring of the Passport, gets LED ambient lighting on the interior. You get real leather seats, where the standard one comes with the synthetic leather, probably easier to clean. All Passports come with, you know, the leather wrapped steering wheel, but here we get heated steering wheel, ventilated seats. Heated seats are standard, nothing excessive, which I like, which has enabled Honda to keep the cost a little bit down, I guess, if you can say that. It's still expensive. This one I'm sitting in here is $60,000 Canadian, or $54,000 USD. So you also get, with the Trailsport, trail cams. So only the Touring model gets this, but they call it trail cams. I was kind of disappointed with what they did here. They could have, not disappointed with what they did, disappointed with what they could have done as far as trail cams and just catering this to an off-road scenario. You get these cameras showing the front tires. I wish they were a little bit closer. I know on the GX550 it like zooms in really close so you can see exactly where your tires are. I'm happy it's here. However, there's just not a lot. You do have a camera on the front though, a close-up camera, so you can see rocks coming and everything like that. But it's huge in here. It's got a huge center console. The seats are very comfortable. It's got great bolstering, mountains, topography, more storage here, right? It's super practical. It's not just an appearance package, and I think Honda nailed it. It's right on the mark to where it should be. It doesn't need 3 rows, although the extra size here is very welcome. Compared to the 4Runner, it has a little bit more cargo space, 2 cubic feet additional cargo space behind the second row if you just spec a 2-row 4Runner. So this has more space, and if you go just using the 4Runner as an example, of course it's body on frame, it's not going to ride quite as well, but that will have a little bit more off-road capabilities. But if you want to spec the 4Runner with the off-road capable stuff like a locking rear differential, you have to pay a lot more than the Passport. So it has like a few basic things, but yeah, if you do really want to squeeze the additional capability, you're going to pay for it in the 4Runner as an example. And then on the other side of things, more of a street SUV along these lines, the Hyundai Santa Fe does things really well. But another thing you get with Trailsport, here on the dash, pitch and roll is displayed on the dash here, which is pretty cool. I don't know why that's just not standard for all Passports. It's just something on the screen. They could have added it. The thing rides great. This is the thing with a lot of these off-road vehicles, my mind goes immediately to the Raptor R, like the most extreme version of this. When you hit the throttle in that, 700 pound-feet of torque, it's the whole thing just pitches and dives. It's insane. It's hilarious. It makes you laugh every time, right? But the Passport has just a little bit of that. It's soft. It's got a really soft ride, and yeah, it's got more body roll than you would experience in your typical Passport or a CRV. But that's the point, and that just tells me, hey, I can go off-road. You know, I can hit bumps at a higher speed, and I'm not going to have much trouble. And out of the gate, they're all kind of capable for off-roading, but the Trailsport just bumps it up that extra notch. Aside from it being much larger than a CRV, so a little bit more impractical around the city, like if you're just doing city stuff, maybe hitting a bit of gravel, sure, CRV. If you're actually gonna go camping, hit the trails, put bikes in the back, put something on the roof, tow something, this can tow up to 5,000 pounds, which is a lot more than the CRV can do, then yeah, I think the Passport is great for that. Before we go, you guys, I think the big thing to ask yourself is just whether you really need a body-on-frame SUV for off-roading. How often are you going out? Is it twice a summer? But that's the real question here, because that torque vectoring rear diff in the back is gonna help a lot. It's no locking rear diff. It doesn't have a 2-speed transfer case or anything like that, but it's gonna do a lot. And I think, yeah, the Trailsport's a great package for a lot of people. It's perfectly balanced, in my opinion, between street and off-roading, comfortable, quiet, all the Honda stuff you would expect. So thanks guys for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you soon.